On the Talkback Show, on the radio, or whatever audio-visual device you choose to use. Welcome to the GBC podcast, where we talk about the Packers and our hometown of Green Bay. We are the official podcast of the Lot 1 Tailgate Party, which is at Lambeau Field every home game. This is episode 122, created November 4th, 2025. I'm John. I'm in Appleton, Wisconsin. Along with me, Jeff in Minnesota, and Neil on the East Coast. Say hello, gentlemen, and tell us what you're drinking.
Hello, gentlemen. Because I couldn't find the bitter taste of defeat bourbon, tonight I'm instead having Green River Foolproof bourbon.
The Packers keep playing down to their opponents, which is the bane of my existence, and I'm having a bane of existence IPA from Hitchhiker Brewing Company.
Okay. And I simply just went with an after-dinner drink. I've got some amaretto on the rocks. You can find us on YouTube and Twitter at Green Bay Chat and Facebook at the GBC Podcast Green Bay Chat. And just the audio is available on Apple Podcast as well as Spotify by searching for Green Bay Chat. Well, Neil, it was a weekend in Green Bay. We had a good time. We also watched the Packers lose at home to the Carolina Panthers 16-13. But good fun in Green Bay, good tailgating on Sunday. We're going to do some more tailgating coming up on Monday because the Eagles are coming into town for Monday Night Football. But first, let's talk about sitting in the stadium on a windy afternoon in Green Bay.
Can't we just talk about the tailgating? That was way more fun.
Oh, sure. We had a great time. We never lose the tailgate, Neil. That's the best part.
Yeah, the wind was a significant factor, and it was clear that Carolina played that component. But in the end, the weirdest thing about the wind is that the wind was coming from the south, but in the lower bowl of the stadium where the players were playing, it felt like it was coming from the north. So there were weird games with that. But the wind in the end was not a huge deal as far as the players were concerned. I didn't see a whole lot from Jordan Love's throws, for example, that really suggested the wind. Obviously, kicking that may have played a role. The problem is that we are not starting fast and we are engaging in offensive sabotage. In our last 6 games, our first possession, we have 0.0 points. We only have 14 points in the entire first quarter of our last 6 games. And if you're going to start slow, you're always putting yourself in a hole. And that was really the theme of the day.
And it's not necessarily a slow start. It is points-wise. But this drive, again, is a good opening drive until a turnover. And that is probably, to me, more important than anything else. Can you score points after getting a turnover? No. But we need to eliminate that. It was a good methodical opening drive.
Well, let's talk about the defense. When Carolina took the ball first,
right,
3 and out. They gained 0 yards in 3 plays. So the defense hands the ball back to the offense. And like you said, there's a methodical drive that goes on. And just that weird kind of conglomeration where he fumbled. Was it evident in the stands that even happened? Because it sort of was an afterthought until on TV they're like, oh, he fumbled.
It was just as much an afterthought in the stands as it was for TV. I did rewatch the game, and it was clear that Carolina was holding him up and then attempting to strip the ball. And there's an element of experience there, but offensive sabotage was the theme of the day. We had only 7 drives because Carolina's strategy was to limit our number of drives, limit the ability of a big scoring offense from scoring those points. And every single drive, there was some sort of sabotage. The fumble, obviously, on the first drive. Second drive, we got to the Carolina 14-yard line, and we followed that up with a Jenkins false start, a sack, and a Watson false start that brought us out to the 31. We ended up getting a field goal out of that, but after being down to the 14, right, that goes into where our problems were. Third drive, we got to the 50-yard line. We had a Ryan hold. We had a Jenkins hold. And though we did end up scoring a field goal on that drive, it just seemed like we were always moving ourselves backwards. And it didn't get any better in the second half. We get to the Carolina 31 in the 4th drive. Jacob 0, incompletion, 6 yards to goal, and then the missed field goal. 5th drive, interception. Obviously, that speaks for itself. 6th drive, we get down, and this is the drive where we had the missed 4th down conversion, but that was after we got down to the Carolina 8 on a 3rd and 3 and have that 5 yards backwards pass. And then we had 7:24 left, down a score, and we took 4:52 for the drive, such that Carolina got the ball in a way that they could complete the game and score to win the game. Every single drive, there was some sort of sabotage by the offense that did things that prevented us from winning.
Perhaps worse, with 7 drives, 6 of them were potential scoring drives. We were in the red zone 5 of the 7 times. And other than that interception, we had every opportunity to score every single time. The statistics, John, obviously the final statistic is that we didn't score as many points as they did, but all other statistical categories we pretty much won or dominated in. That was the thing. I mean, they had 102 yards passing. We should be able to win the game. What did us in was, I guess, the rushing defense. We couldn't stop Rico Dowdle?
But that was by the time it was the last drive. And yeah, Rico Dowdle obviously did have a huge game. And yes, that was the secondary part, is that why did we only have 7 drives? Is because we had long drives, but Carolina also had long drives. And just starting with their second drive. So we had that beautiful 3-and-out on the first drive. Carolina's second drive, 15 plays for 70 yards. It took 8:39 off the clock. And we need more opportunities to score. We need to take advantage, obviously, when we have them. But yeah, they took advantage of their ability to run the ball, to grind the clock down, and to take away our opportunities to score when we had the ball.
And Carolina played a much better first half. Carolina had 146 yards on their 3 total possessions in the first half. We had 184 yards in our 3 possessions. So we're moving the ball, and we were in scoring position most times. We just couldn't close the deal.
In addition to that, Jeff, you talked about those 7 drives. Here are some stats for the ages. 7 drives, you only convert a score on 3 of them for a total of 13 points. How many times did Daniel Whelan punt on Sunday?
0.
None. How do you score 13 points and not punt on the day? This was just such an anomaly in the statistics, and this ridiculous score, 16-13, reflects it.
I'm going to go back to something we've talked about previously, though, which is a lack of a push down the field in the times where it mattered. I mentioned that last drive that we had where we scored the touchdown and just basically dawdled our way down the field. But at the end of the first half, we were in a similar situation. We got the ball back with 2:22 left, and we took 10 plays to get down to the point that we could do a short field goal. And there has to be this drive to getting in the end zone and to do it with some level of urgency. And if we show more urgency at the end of the first half, we show more urgency in our last drive in the second half, where we are focused on getting the touchdown as quickly as possible. I think we've got a different outcome in this game.
Neil, you are right. Let's go back to talking about tailgating. It was a great day in Green Bay on Sunday for tailgating. You know, Neil, the Carolina Panthers team had a good game. They got a good win, but not a lot of their fans showed up to enjoy it either. There was not a lot of blue and white in the stadium.
It's possibly the fewest visiting fans I've ever seen at Lambeau Field. There were a couple people that I saw at Stadium View, and saw a guy that was from Carolina with a Munich hat. He had gone to the Carolina Panthers in Munich last year. It's like, okay, they've got a few hardcore fans, but there weren't very many of them. And the few that there were, certainly were happy. We had 2 that were sort of a few rows in front of us, and they were happy at the end, but they were silent pretty much throughout the entire game.
But we had German Packer fans, Neil, our friends who we met in Nashville last year. Jeff, you remember these guys, Florian and Tobias? They contacted us through the Instagram account and said, hey, we're back in town. They're actually staying in Milwaukee, and they're doing 2 games. They went to the game on Sunday. They'll be back for Monday Night Football against the Eagles. So, guten Tag.
We also had our friend Janet and her sister and her aunt who joined me in the stands, and they did shot ski. We saw our friend Kate. We had friends. We had a bunch of high school friends who were at the game as well, and yeah, it was so enjoyable, and there were parts of the game that were enjoyable, I guess.
That's
so
the thing I love about the tailgating day. Jeff, you sat there with me. You're just kind of hanging out, and people just keep showing up, right? And it's like, it's this bizarre, hazy kind of thing because there's so much activity going on. It's sensory overload, and all of a sudden someone's in your face talking to you like, oh man, how you been? Where you been? What's going on? And then the next thing you know, they're gone. They leave without saying goodbye. It's like, come on.
It's almost like being at a wedding reception or something. Like you're
right,
on, every single tailgate is like that though. So
it's spectacular.
It keeps on giving.
I totally enjoy it. I hope we get to keep doing it. By all means, come to the Lot 1 tailgate party and say hi to us. And then John can be confused for the rest of the day. Like, where did this person go? I know I just
how was that?
Going back, I guess, to the game, if we must talk about it.
We got a game to talk about, Neil.
I mean,
come on.
Jordan Love had good overall numbers as far as the game is concerned. First half, 136 passing yards. Second half, 137 passing yards, 15 to 21, 11 to 16. Jordan Love has been so consistent basically in every quarter this year. And we're not seeing those ups and downs by quarter as far as the performance of Jordan Love. And we also had reasonable performances from at least one of our running backs. Jacobs had a 5.1 yard per attempt average. He scores as Jacobs always scores. Wilson, a lot less effective. And I think that's sort of the thing that we had. Wilson, 6 rushes for 16 yards. Savion Williams, the 1 rush for 0 yards that obviously was disastrous. And it's all of those little things that are sabotage. But I mean, Dobbs had a big game. Tucker Kraft had a great game while he was in. Watson had a great game. Musgrave came in for Kraft, did very well. It's certainly very encouraging as far as the future of our offense with Watson be able to make up some of the things, at least that Kraft did. There are a lot of things alike. It's just, it was the final score. The only statistic that mattered is the one that killed us because there were a lot of good things.
Jeff, that's the elephant in the room, right? The tight ends. We've got to figure out what's going on. It has been confirmed Tucker Kraft, torn ACL. Luke Musgrave needs to step up. Remember, Luke was the higher draft pick of the two. He showed he can get downfield and can make a catch, right? But where's his weak spot been? Probably with the blocking or being a little bit more of a power player than Tucker Kraft.
Then throw the ball down the damn field.
Right, stretch the field.
Exactly. Open it up. If he's not the road grader, he's not looking to run people over like Tucker is and was, and we need to move on. The proverbial next man up. But you know what? Just open up the passing game, please. Yeah. Just throw the ball down the damn field. We've got 2 burners, and now we've got Musgrave. Let's see what this offense can do.
And Neil, from that lineman's perspective, right? It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know there's a difference between pass blocking and run blocking. But what is happening in the run blocking? Why does it appear the blocking is different when Jacobs is out there versus Wilson or even Brooks? And why are we just not getting a push?
This game was sort of the opposite of the last few games where Jacobs was, and now it's Wilson who was not able to get any yards in this. And I don't know. I still am going back to there's an element of scheme that the opposing team can tell what we are going to do. And we're essentially telegraphing what we're going to do a little bit too much. And I think this goes back to Matt LaFleur's got to dig a little bit deeper. And certainly having Tucker Kraft out is going to force some greater creativity. And I think that creativity is going to be hopefully a destructive force as far as making the Packers offense better.
Hopefully less Jeff sweeps.
I don't think we saw any, did we?
No, but hopefully we won't fall back to that. So, all right, let's talk about the defense. Xavier McKinney had a day. The defense, Carolina only had 265 net yards and 16 points. That should be enough for this team to win the football game.
Jeff, I'm going to take a contrary opinion because they only had 7 drives, 265 yards divided by 7 drives. That's 38 yards per drive. And you take out that 3 and out, that looks even worse. That's over 45 yards per drive at this point. And that was really the problem, is that they had these long, consistent drives after the first drive. And it was our inability to get them off the field that ended up costing us. The Xavier McKinney interception obviously was huge, but they were already in field goal range at that point. So it did take 3 points off the board and possibly 7, but a 15-play drive, a 17-play drive, 6-play drive, but still 8-play drive. They scored. They had 1 short drive, and then their last drive, 9 plays that finished off the game. And we've got to be able to stop them. We had that beautiful first 3 and out, but after that, they had some periods where they were able to really move the ball downfield, take time off the clock. And again, the key statistic really, other than the score, is that we only had 7 drives. And when you limit the better team's opportunities, you bring luck into play more, and luck favored Carolina in that game.
Absolutely. Now, we haven't talked about the asshats. Now, this also, unfortunately, weighed heavy in this game. We mentioned that Danny Whelan, no punts this game. Great, no punts.
That's not really on the asshats, to be fair.
Right, but let's talk about the punt return. So in this game, there were 2 punt returns for 6 total yards by Romeo Doubs. And to me, it seems like this guy, he's out there and he's just trying to field the punt. And, if I can run, that's great. But you know what? He's not running up. He's at a dead stop, and we are dead last in the NFL in punt return yardage. And it's not a big surprise.
But it's not even that we're dead last. We're dead last by a fair margin. We're 32nd. We're averaging 4.9 return yards per punt. 31st is 5.8. The second worst team is a yard per punt return better than we are. The average team is getting 10 yards per punt return. So we're losing essentially 5 yards on every punt return. And the best team is getting 19 and a half yards per punt return. We're losing 15 yards compared to the best teams on punt return. And yeah, you can't expect to be the best team, although you go back to the Desmond Howard days and you think, well, maybe we should be the best team as far as punt returns. But you should at least be doing at some level that's average. And we're so far below average that it's essentially like every time they punt it to us, we're taking a 5-yard penalty.
It's historically bad. Here's your trivia question. Who was the last NFL team to average 5 return yards or fewer on punts?
Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, in 2020, right?
And before that, what was it?
Green Bay Packers.
I think we've got the 4 last teams that are below 5 yards per punt return.
Seriously, we've been doing this podcast for 4 years, and this special teams has been atrocious for the entire time. And it is just common knowledge that something has to change in this team, and it's got to start at the top. We need to look at Rich Bisaccia. But for some reason, he is also an assistant head coach or co-head coach or whatever his secondary title is. And for some reason, everybody in that locker room loves this guy. What is he doing that is positive in this team? It's a rhetorical question. Yeah,
You're not expecting I got nothing, John.
And I would add also, maybe Matt LaFleur should be talking to kickers and to the special teams players as well, rather than saying, I don't talk to kickers.
Really, the issue is when special teams is either winning games or not losing games for us, they're sort of we can look the other way. But again, we're back to this situation where special teams has cost us a few losses or wins this season already. They're just not reliable. We can't have this. We need better play.
We've lost 2 games and we've had a tie. We've had a missed field goal in every one of those that could have turned the game. That's all you need to know as far as the field goals are concerned.
Yeah, and on every kickoff, are you just like biting your nails and wondering, gosh, where's the flag going to come from on this play? How are they going to do anything? The other thing, too, Packer fans, are on the edge. I saw someone post that this was the worst Packers loss in the LaFleur era.
No.
In my opinion, this wasn't even the worst loss of the season. I mean, the Cleveland game was much worse. And it's amazing how our short-term memory just goes away. Was it a dumb loss at home against a team that was 4-4 coming in? Yeah, it was. Is it an eye-opener, hopefully, for this team? Because fans were viewing it as, again, was it a trap game? Were they looking past this team? Was there a little dissent amongst the players about who might have been out partying too much Saturday night? Hey, they're professionals. They ideally learn their lesson from a dumb loss. We need them to come back and be ready to play again at home in a few days against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Even though it's a dumb loss, they're still in first place.
Still in first place in the division.
They're in first place, but we lose one game, we could actually be out of the playoffs if the playoffs started tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing. The entire NFC is so tight right now. The North itself, but the entire NFC, right? 5-3 right now is in 8th place as far as the playoffs for the NFC right now. So this has got to be a situation where you've got to immediately respond, go back and have a very competitive game. I think the one positive we can say is that there will be extra focus for Philadelphia that we've got to win in this context after losing to Carolina. And at some level, does it really matter if you lose to Carolina and win to Philadelphia or vice versa? Realistically, you'd rather win to Philadelphia. So essentially no blood, no foul as long as we win in Philadelphia.
And ultimately, again, we're at the half point of the season, right? Neil, you said it's a logjam. It's at the halfway point. We're at 8 games. We're coming up on our 9th game. If you presume doubling the record, this is a team that's going to win 11 games. You get to double-digit wins, you have a chance of making the playoffs. This is a team that we know can get double-digit wins. Just from our expectations at the start of the season, our expectations, certainly can they play the way they did those first 2 games? We look at those first 2 games. We look at the Steelers game. We know this team has extreme competence. And I think that they will overcome the injuries, right? We're without Tucker Kraft. It's going to be a while yet before Jaden Reed gets on the field. Matthew Golden now with a shoulder injury is in doubt. It's a team that is still very good.
But that's what's so frustrating. is
Yeah.
they are that good. And it's the
And
mental
they still
mistakes
and they
and
still
the
fuck
stupid
around.
shit.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. It's the stupid shit that happens and the ass hat.
It's really how things were concentrated, which at some level there's a randomness. We only had 7 penalties for 42 yards, which I guess it's sort of offensive that we say only 7 penalties for 42 yards. The problem with this in this game is that 6 of those penalties for 39 yards were in the second quarter. And that concentration is really what killed our ability to convert a lot of good offensive performances in the second quarter into scoring opportunities, right? This is something where we hurt ourselves and we've got to avoid hurting ourselves. And I don't know what it's going to take to prevent that, but this is something that is absolutely on the head coach as far as making sure his team is aware and is performing at their highest possible level.
We don't have the luxury of making multiple mistakes in the game. We've got to be sharper. And that's sort of the nature of the NFL. You can't make these stupid mistakes because it will cost you the game. And we've seen that unfortunately unfold multiple times this season. We do have great players. This team seems to be underperforming. And if we can just somehow make those go away, remedy those, whether it's practice, preparation, whatever, clean them up, be better.
I'm wondering about defensive strategy too, because obviously we did control Bryce Young 11 of 20 for 102 yards with an interception. That's fabulous against the opposing quarterback. The problem is their running backs took us for 163 yards and a 4.9 yard per attempt average. And it seems like the Packers wanted to control Bryce Young. And we didn't recognize soon enough that Carolina's strategy was not to go through Bryce Young, but to go through their running backs, especially through Dowdle.
And great scheme on their part then. Like, okay, fine. We're just going to hand off the damn ball. And this is a guy who's kind of an unproven commodity. He's a young guy, and he killed us.
Carolina had great coaching. I mean, we have to give Carolina credit as far as their coaching, as far as their strategy, as far as exploiting what the Packers gave them. And that's a very hollow thing to say because it means that we failed at something as well.
Yeah. We just need to score more damn points.
Big picture, it could be worse. We could be Bengals fans, right? And with that said, hey, there are no loss teams. There are no one-loss teams, and the Packers are among a smattering of teams with 2 losses. It's just an interesting season right now. Are we frustrated, Jeff? Like you said, there's a talent there, but this team isn't dominating every game. But nobody really out there is doing that dominating. The team coming into town next, the Philadelphia Eagles, they still have 2 kind of goofy losses on the season. 1 to, those playoff-bound New York Giants, right? Giants get 1 of 2 wins on the season against the Eagles. And you just have to wonder what's going on even in Philadelphia, what's going on in San Francisco, in Pittsburgh.
Well,
Seattle,
San Francisco, it's injuries. We've got that one figured out.
Yeah, so. I suppose. But you know what I mean? It's like nobody is dominating. It's halfway through the season. The team that regroups and just perseveres is going to do the best down the road.
It's wide open.
And that's why I feel positive about the Packers more than anything is we are still the youngest team in the NFL, and the youngest team is the one that's got the greatest opportunities to make a jump in the second half of the season.
And talking about getting younger, Neil, some teams do it by building their team in certain ways. Today is the trade deadline. Now, the Green Bay Packers didn't do much, but we saw the New York Jets just clean house. This looked like the Twins in the baseball season, right, Jeff? They're going to have so many first and second round draft picks over the next season. It's going to be ridiculous. And I think the Jets were saying, hey, we want to be the youngest team. They are by default going to have a very young team over the next couple of years, but you still got to build. You got to build experience and get somewhere. And we're a team that knows how to build. There's some history there on how to build a team, right, Neil?
This is a tradition that goes back a long way in Green Bay. And John and I had the opportunity over the weekend to meet up in person with Sam Venisi and talk about Jack Venisi and his role as far as the establishment of a different approach to team building, developing the modern approach to pro football scouting and how he revolutionized the game.
Jack Venisi is one of 21 finalists at the moment in the contributors category for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. They're going to narrow that list down to 9 in a little bit. Eventually, I think there's just going to be 1. I think they just do 1 contributor per year. Some tough names on the list: Howard Cosell, Rune Arledge, John Facenda. Names that you're like, oh, okay, I know those names. Who are these guys, right? And also, there is an event coming up in Green Bay. A friend of ours who we met with, Sam, her name is Corey Campbell. Corey has been another person in town who's really been championing the Jack Venisi for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We had the pleasure to interview Corey. There's a totally different episode. Please look for it as we talk to Corey and we talk about her perspective on Jack Venisi and getting him into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Next up, Monday night, Under the lights at Lambeau Field, Philly comes to town.
It's always exciting on a night game, right? We had a primetime game in Pittsburgh, and playing at night is just always something special. But we have to remember it's a Monday night. And this is a gold package game. That means that it is the Milwaukee ticket holders. Boy, Neil, what does that mean? Are we going to worry about who's selling their tickets or who's coming to the game on Monday night?
I'm not worried about it. If Packers fans aren't willing to go, there certainly are plenty of hardcore Eagles fans who will be there, and there will be a solid number of Eagles fans who are there. The key for the Packers in this case is going to be to start strong so you don't start hearing those Eagles fans dominate. The opposing fans, doesn't matter how many of them are there, they never dominate until they are ahead. So don't allow them to get ahead, and we will maintain our home field advantage no matter what happens and no matter how many Eagles fans are there. And there are now nonstop flights from Philadelphia to Green Bay prior to that game. This is not something that is normal. I wish that were true because that would allow me to get home a lot faster.
Make it a lot easier, right?
But no, there are nonstop flights, and so there are going to be a fair number of Eagles fans, and it doesn't matter, right? The Packers have to perform. It's how the Packers players play that are going to determine what the reactions are in the stadium.
So the Eagles come in at 6-2. Packers are 5-2-1. The Eagles are 3-1 away. Packers are 3-1 at home. So Vegas says the Packers are 2.5-point favorites. So
Yeah,
that's encouraging.
That's one of those. That's the early line on the week, right? And typically the home team gets a little bit of an advantage. But you look at this with the injuries, and there's the era of recency, right? Boy, dude, we look terrible. Come out flat. Now, can we play the same game we played against Pittsburgh? Can we play the same game we played against Detroit, Washington? That would be great.
Damn well better.
But if we can't, if we play the Cleveland game, we play the Dallas game, we play the Panthers game, yeah, this is a game that Philadelphia is just going to.
I'm going to go back to my beer, though. We are playing to our opponents, and we have good opponents. We played well. And the other thing is that Philadelphia, despite being the defending Super Bowl champions, have absolutely underperformed relative to their background the previous year. So if you look at offensive yards per game, Packers are 8th. The Eagles are 24th in offensive yards per game, 304 versus 360. Passing, 25th. Rushing, 19th. You look at the running backs. Josh Jacobs actually has more rushing yards this year than Saquon Barkley does. And also 10 touchdowns versus 4. Defensive yards per game. Packers 5th. Eagles 23rd. So 24th in offensive yards per game, 23rd in defensive yards per game. They're absolutely middling on every one of those defensive stats. They're a little bit better as far as DVOA compared to what they are by yards per game. But the fact is that the Philadelphia Eagles have had this growing pain that's always associated with a team that wins a championship and has to get rid of some of the players that were critical for that championship. And they are showing that this year. Players are expensive. Players who win titles are more expensive than players who don't, even if they perform at the exact same level. And you're seeing that throughout their offense and through their defense.
The other thing that's interesting about this game, Neil, this kind of begins the end of our tour of the NFC East, right? We've got the Eagles, and then we'll have the Giants. But we also have a player who used to play in the NFC East in Micah Parsons. What do you think this is going to mean for Micah Parsons to be in a Packer uniform facing the Eagles?
First of all, it's a team that he knows well. He's certainly going to be motivated for a Monday night game and a big game against one of our rivals for the NFC. But if you look at the Philadelphia Eagles offense, they are tied for 25th in number of sacks that they've allowed. They've allowed 25 sacks so far this year. The Packers, by the way, third only have allowed 11. The other thing about the Eagles on offense is that they are 29th in third down conversion percentage. They're only converting 33% of their third downs on offense. The Packers are second, converting 49%. So this sounds like there are opportunities for Micah Parsons.
Third and long, he will feast.
Ideally, right? Let's, pin some ears back and let's make something happen. Anything can look better than, again, like what this Sunday looked. Again, we talk about, my opinion, right, that pressures, yeah, it's a stat, but there needs to be a caveat on that. What happens with the pressure? When Parsons is in there pressuring and they're not getting a sack, they're not getting even a tackle for a loss, they're not getting a turnover, they're getting a completed pass and a play that is still going. And it's frustrating to see. It's like, oh, you're just a half step off on everything. Neil, you even mentioned how many sacks Philadelphia is giving up. This team, our defense was supposed to look good against Dallas. We were supposed to look good against Cincinnati. We were supposed to look good against Cleveland, things like that. Why are they playing down to the competition in these games? But again, a rhetorical question.
A rhetorical question, but in the end, that doesn't matter for this week because nobody is underestimating the world champion Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, except for the odds makers, again, who have the Packers favored by 2.5 points.
But Packers, they're at home. And again, let's hope that the Milwaukee Gold Ticket Package folks show up and are loud and can bring that energy. The schedule makers did the Packers sort of a favor. The Eagles are coming in. Last year, when they played the Eagles, it was a neutral site. It was in Brazil. Let's bring the Eagles to Green Bay. Let's see what the Packers can do with the home field crowd and dominate here.
And the other thing is, if you want to go to the game, there are tickets available. So go buy tickets. You can buy the tickets. You can go to the game. You don't have to yell at the Gold Package fans, because if you didn't go to the game, guess what? You're just as guilty as the Gold Package fans who sold their tickets.
And we will be there tailgating. The Lot 1 tailgate party is there. It doesn't matter. Every home game, green package, gold package, night game, day game, preseason, postseason, doesn't matter what the weather is. So stop by. You will see us in the Lot 1 tailgate party in action, and we'll be having a great time. I want to remind both of you, in our preseason predictions of this season and how we looked at this Monday night matchup. First of all three of us originally picked us to win against Carolina. Got that one wrong. Now, all three of us pegged a loss when we were at the beginning of the season looking at this Monday night game. Are you ready to reassess this Monday night potential loss to the Eagles?
I am, for two reasons. One is that Philadelphia is not as good as you expected that they were going to be. Yes, they've got the gaudy record, but all of their underlying metrics are that they're not quite at that same level that they were last year. And secondly, I think that the timing of how these games have gone makes a difference. If we had beaten Carolina, I'd have felt less confidence about us beating Philadelphia. The fact that we lost to Carolina paradoxically actually means the team is going to have even more focus in this really big game, because they know how much it's going to matter given how tight things are. And I am looking forward to the Packers showing up to our offense, putting on a masterclass to our defense, taking advantage of their offensive line and containing Saquon Barkley sufficiently and preventing those big receivers from making those big plays.
Well, John, going into this game, I had the Packers at 8-0. So I had this as the first loss of the season. So will I reassess? Yes. Have we, tied and lost? Yes. Under the lights, will Micah Parsons step up? Love plays wonderfully in big games. I think this is where the speed and hopefully the youth of the Packers really shows up here and says, okay, there's a new guard in town. We are going to take it to Philadelphia. We're going to say, okay, you're the defending Super Bowl champs. Fine. We are going to hold serve at home, show the NFC on a national game that we are for real. Yeah, we've had a couple bad games. Okay, let's just overlook those. These are the games that really matter and that they're going to show out. That's what we're hoping for. Go Pack, go.
That's why I love you guys, because you are eternally the Packer optimist. I'm looking at this and saying, man, this team stunk it up on Sunday against Carolina. Philadelphia is the better team. I'm sticking with the loss on this one for Monday night.
Boo.
I think that this is going to be an eye-opener mid-season. There's still plenty of time to recover. The cure for what might ail you is a game against the New York Giants next week. Then 2 weeks, Neil, it's hunting season, and the Minnesota Vikings come into town. I don't like looking further down the schedule, but I have to find some optimism, because I just don't think the Packers are ready because of recovering from an injury, regrouping, just looking sluggish. They're not ready for prime time on Monday night.
Let's just remind everyone now that John picked us losing to Washington and Detroit to start the season too. So
exactly.
Thank you, Neil. Yeah.
And if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit subscribe. Leave us a comment. Find the GBC podcast at Green Bay Chat. That's all one word, Green Bay Chat. We are on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Blue Sky, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. On Facebook, it's the GBC podcast, Green Bay Chat. We had a great time with our social media on Sunday tailgating. We'll do it again on Monday as well. So please follow us on any and all of those social media platforms, and may you fully appreciate the magnitude of your impending good fortune. Thanks for joining us.
good night.
Good night.